And away we go. It is the nightcap, May 1st, a monumental day, May 1st, 2022, for the UC Bearcats. Well, we weren't, I'll get the overlay out here. We weren't going to do a nightcap tonight. I gave Aaron the night off, and then I was like, you know what? I think we kind of need to do a nightcap tonight. Like, there's so much that's happened. How are we not going to do a nightcap tonight? So I called in my good friend and the voice of Cincinnati sports. You're becoming the voice. Well, I guess we have to give that to Dan, right? Dan is the voice.
He is the narrator of Cincinnati sports. Yeah.
Right. So you're right there.
It's just Dan, and I'm just one, just beneath, just right underneath him. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, sure.
But there's been so much that's happened, since Wednesday. Like I don't know that we've ever had a Wednesday to Sunday that's anything like what we've experienced. Wes Miller landed a high-level transfer in Landers Nolly.
Mm-hmm.
The draft with 9, all that we'll get into, and then Rayvon Griffith today, committing to Cincinnati.
Incredible.
There's nothing like the only thing that could be better than that would be getting like a full 5-piece chicken meal with sides from Galactic Fried Chicken. That's one of the only things that could really match up. So make sure you visit our friends at Galactic Fried Chicken. Go to www.galacticfriedchicken.com and they will get you taken care of. Get the app, Android, iPhone, everything Galactic, delivery. Go down to the shop in Dayton and they will get you taken care of. Tell them to pump it up. They'll give you 15% off. Mo, my family did that without me today.
Wow.
I had to work because obviously there were things happening.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter, like about every 5 days, she's like, Dad, we have to go to Galactic Fried Chicken. So it was like my wife, my daughter, my mother-in-law, her boyfriend, my dad, my stepmom, like the whole crew went to Galactic Fried Chicken, and then they brought me back like a little container that I could have for myself after I got done working. It was very nice of them.
That was big of them.
It was. So that's the deal. Mo.
Yeah.
5 days. 5 monumental days. Like, as a Bearcat fan, do you feel like you got to, like, catch your breath after everything that just happened?
Yeah, this is normally, like, I get a break from it, right? I mean, it's just the draft plays out. And, it's not like UC hasn't sent guys to the NFL. It's not like in recent years there haven't been guys we've been paying attention to. Josiah DeGuara, maybe most notably a couple of years ago. But, just the draft itself, I don't want to say the Bengals took a back seat because that makes it sound like a team that went to the Super Bowl was an afterthought. But I got to be honest with you. Once the 31st pick came and went, I was more invested in, okay, what's going to happen with Dez? And then who else is going to go where? How early is Brian Cook going to go? How early is Kobe Bryant going to go? Is Jerome Ford going to get drafted? I mean, I was a little bit more invested in that than I was, all right, how can a team with a very good roster, which position are they going to address and in what area are they going to add some depth? This was cool. And it was cool from my standpoint, which is you root for these guys and you root for them as members of a team, but individually you get to know them just a little bit, I mean, I really have enjoyed, and maybe more so this year because 2 years ago, everything had to be a phone call or a Zoom call, but going back down and just interviewing the guys, talking to them for the pregame show. And so, you get to know them a little bit, you get to hear their backstories. And for all the team success that they achieved, you wanted to see some sort of individual payoff. And so for those guys to get it on the stage that they did was just really, really cool. I mean, I was disappointed for Dez because, there's always the guy that like they show his draft party and it's starting to thin out. And a buddy of mine texted me and said, every time they cut to Dez's draft party, it looks less fun. And he was going to get drafted. But, I said this to you last week. If he doesn't go in round 1, it's going to feel like a disappointment, and that shouldn't be the case. The reality is to have your name called as the second quarterback taken in the draft.
That's the important part, right?
Yeah, regardless of what round, is a remarkable accomplishment. And I hope that doesn't get lost. And then it was, of the handful of teams that I think you could have said, God, I hope Dez goes there, the Atlanta Falcons were near the top of the list and maybe at the very top,
maybe
right?
the top.
Yeah, so he goes to a place where he's not going to be thrown to the Wolves week 1, but he's certainly going to be given a chance to play reasonably soon. And, so there's a lot to like about it. So beyond just sort of the antsiness of, okay, when's this going to happen for Dez? And are we going to get to Saturday still wondering if Desmond Ridder is, where's he going to go? Beyond that, there was just an immense amount of pride and just happiness for the guys to achieve what they've achieved individually. That was really, really cool. And then it's bookended by basketball news. I texted you about 5 minutes after Landers Nolly went into the portal, and I'm like, boy, you know what? This is exactly the type of player they could use. 6'7" wing guy who could score. And you sort of build your offense around him. And then the Rayvon Griffin thing was just, I don't want to say, I hate to say it was icing on the cake, because for me as a basketball fan, it might have been the most important thing, but it was this major sort of get for Wes Miller that has the city talking. And nothing against anybody that he's brought to the program to this point, but I have sort of felt like, all right, this program needs a little punch to it, needs a little juice.
Yep.
The transfer portal guys are only going to bring so much. The recruits from other parts of the country are only going to bring so much. This has added a lot. And so that, as a Bearcat fan, makes me really, really happy.
On the basketball front, here's the important part to me. You needed to feel like there was some momentum building, because I think we're going to find out. If you followed the tea leaves last week, we're going to find out either this week or very soon what the exit fee is, when the exit date is to go to the Big 12.
Right.
And I think we all feel like the football program is ready. Like, might not be in perfect position. Like, it might, there's still going to be growing pains.
Yeah.
But we all feel in general that the football program is ready to take that next step. Like,
no question.
They've outgrown, like, they were in a 32. They're going to have to move up to a 34, and they're ready to do that. They're okay with it. The basketball program, I think we all felt like, man, there's going to be a lot of open roster spots. There's going to be a lot, again, another year of, there's going to be a lot of turnover. We don't know what the nucleus is going to look like in that first year in the Big 12. Like, there was legitimate, and I think realistic, like, okay, we believe in West to be able to do this, but it's time to start seeing it, right? Because Rob Finney wasn't going to play in the Big 12.
Right.
Kalua Zekpe wasn't going to play in the Big 12. Landers Nolly, whether he does or not, there is the option that he is going to be available in the Big 12. So you get that done on Wednesday, and everybody felt good. Like, okay, that was we needed a star in the transfer portal. Boom. Landers Nolly fills that up. And the amazing part was, Mo, when you texted me that when he went in the portal, he told him no.
Wow.
Out of the gate. He didn't want to play in the American. Like, it wasn't something he wanted to do. And the staff kept working and kept working and kept working. And there were a lot of ties to him. And it came back around, and they got it done. Outstanding. And then to get Rayvon done on Sunday, now you have your centerpiece for the 2023 class, or at least your first really, really good building block for 2023. Does it feel like the fan base maybe today, more than anything, was a chance to celebrate that they got the hometown kid, the hometown top 50 kid, but also a chance to maybe exhale just a touch in that we feel like we feel like now we're not going to go into the Big 12 and look like Mick did when he went when he took over in the Big East and Connecticut won by 50.
Yeah. I think there were very legitimate concerns, first of all, just based on how they played the final 3 or 4 weeks of the season.
Sure.
Where, boy, just offensively, they were really tough to watch.
Rough.
And they really limped to the finish line. And, it was sobering down the stretch. And I mean, I often said to myself, I can't believe this team beat Illinois by 20.
Comfortably beat Illinois.
Yeah. And
on a wonderful night at the Holy Grail.
It was great. But you're kind of going, okay, a lot of these guys are going to come back. The portal is this great unknown where, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids who go in, but everybody's going to want most of those guys. And I've always said, and I don't say this to be mean to Rapolis Ivanauskas, but I've said publicly, like the transfer portal, there's a whole hell of a lot of Rapolis Ivanauskas in the transfer portal. So that has always struck me as, me and my buddies talk about this all the time. Well, just hit the portal and bring some dudes in. Sounds really easy. It's not. So
sure. Especially this year when dudes are getting $500,000 a year.
Right.
To go play at Miami and
yeah. So you have this uncharted territory that I think none of us really know.
The Wild West, Mo.
Yeah. None of us really know how to talk about it because it's
new
and yeah. So there's that, and then it all unfolded very, very slowly. And I asked you about this on my radio show, and it all makes sense. You have, kids are making visits. They're making decisions based on going on campus. And not doing things sight unseen, which is, it slows things down a little bit. There's the deadline to hit the portal, which has obviously now come and gone. Decisions are being made much more judiciously, which is a really good thing, I think, for all parties involved. But it did slow things down. And so I think there are a lot of people who, and I will admit to falling into this trap myself, where season ends and, it ends early because they don't make a postseason tournament. And it's like, all right, let's flip the script and new guys come on in. And it took a while. And so that, on top of the uncertainty of the portal itself, on top of Big 12 is coming, I think you were being very fair if you're like, okay, well, last year, meaning the 2020-21 season unfolded the way it did. This season unfolded the way it did. Boy, next season kind of might be more of the same. And then the Big 12, like, when's the next time UC basketball is going to make the NCAA tournament? And, granted, those are it's still a very legitimate question, but now it feels like there's something to hang your hat on. And I got to be honest with you, man, just because of how things have gone over the last couple of years with coaching changes and COVID, and I did it to a degree this year with Daniel Skillings, but I want to get excited about following a commitments last year of high school ball, right? Like I'm excited to pay attention.
Sure.
It's like, the fun thing with Gary Clark was his last year in high school. We knew he was coming.
When he put up a quadruple double.
And he was putting up these ridiculous point totals. And you're like, yeah, that guy's coming here, right? So I'm excited to do that. And I can actually go watch him play, which is really cool because he's in town. I'm excited for that. But it calms things down just a little bit to the degree that I don't think we're as panic-stricken as we were a couple of weeks ago because,
days ago.
Yeah. I mean, like, all right, are they going to be able to get anybody because of, everybody's going to just figure out a way to drop bags on these dudes? Are they going to get anybody any good in the portal? Are they going to let a hometown guy get away? Is there going to be a last-second bag drop by one of these other behemoth schools? And they got him. So certainly they have a lot of work to do. And I mean, you're being very fair if you're like, all right, next year Landers Nolly is coming, Rob Finney is coming. How much of the other dudes who come back, how much of those guys individually going to improve, and is it going to be enough for this team to be more relevant than it was this past season? But it felt like something that these two developments to just calm everything down and just, all right, things can be okay, and this staff does know what it's doing, and they have a chance to be better next year, which is a really good thing.
the game has kind of turned to a wing game, right? We always talked a long time about it's a game of guards, right? It's a guards game. Well, instead now college is kind of from the Baylor team to what we saw with North Carolina and Kansas this year. It's becoming a wing game. And now if you've got Landers Nolly, Daniel Skillings, Rayvon Griffith, all of a sudden you're building this team that looks like a lot of the teams. I think that was maybe the hardest part for you, for me, for fans. When we watched the last 3 years, Mo, and then we watched the teams that were really good, we were watching two things that did not look like each other.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a different sport. I mean, I said this to somebody watching the NCAA tournament. Some of these teams are playing a sport that is not what I just watched UC play 30 games of. Last year they just had no offensive identity, right? They were a poor outside shooting team. It wasn't like you could throw the ball into the post. They had nobody who was breaking down defenses and creating opportunities for his teammates.
David DeJulius that looked like an and one mixtape trying to get 1 inch of separation from the defense.
Yeah, I mean, it just there was nothing you can hang. Like people would say, well, why do they shoot so many threes? Like, what else you got? Like,
they couldn't score within 2 feet.
Right. So, okay, we can't throw it into the post. Nobody's breaking anybody down off the dribble. There's nobody who's creating offense for one of their teammates. They're not a great fast breaking team. Like, okay, well, we're sort of like crossing off offensive options here. Right. It becomes just heave it from deep. So the moment the season ended, Tony Pike and I were talking about this because he asked, well, what do you want to see next year? And I said, I want to see a team that when they need a bucket, I go, here's what they should do. Either get it to this guy or do this. And now I feel like that's a bona fide possibility. And look, they just weren't a great, team in terms of execution in the half court this past year. We'll see if that changes, but they just had no real offensive identity. And I think the fear was, man, we could be saying that this coming season. And if we're saying that this coming season, we're not going to feel really good about the year after that, which is, obviously in all likelihood going to be year number 1 of the Big 12. Now this appears to be with the kids they've brought in, they at least have some guys who offensively can give them something to build around. And they're a little bit less easy to defend, if you will. And then just, getting a big-time recruit can just send just surges of optimism and enthusiasm through a fan base that I really feel like needed it, man. It's been a tough few years to be a Bearcat fan, from all the coaching changes and all the instability and all this just sort of roster upheaval and the way things unfolded on the floor this year, the way things unfolded on the floor for the most part during John Brannon's last year, the weirdness of that separation. Like it's been a really rough couple of years to get the payoff of here's a high-level dude from Cincinnati who's going to stay at home. That was a payoff that Bearcat fans, myself included, badly needed and deserved.
Yeah. All right. I've got one more interesting question to ask you, and nobody has asked this, so I think it's important.
Yeah.
Let's switch back to the NFL.
Okay.
Jason Kelce, phenomenal this weekend on the Bleacher Report.
Tremendous. Yes.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, phenomenal, doing his stuff with the ESPN. Those guys have been the banner wavers, the flag bearers for UC football. They're both younger than us. Also both getting a little long in the tooth in terms of professional football.
Mm-hmm.
Did we get our next great Bearcat personality this weekend with Sauce Gardner going to New York?
Yeah.
The video today or yesterday, whenever it was, of him with the sauce bottle with Woody Johnson. The guy that owns Johnson & Johnson is standing there with Sauce Gardner asking him, well, how do you know what sauce is in there? And Sauce is like, I put the sauce in there. What do you mean, how do I know what sauce? It's my sauce. I put the sauce in the bottle. Like, he has a chance to be the next transcendent Bearcat, which if you get another Travis Kelce, like Travis is once in a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
I think you have a chance with Sauce to have this guy that resonates. People are already all in or all out on Sauce, right?
Why would you be all out? Why would you be all out on him?
Because there's people that, if you look on Twitter, there's a ton of, like, there's this vocal, he's too flashy. I don't like the chains and the bling and like blah, 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 blah. The same reason a lot of people hated Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Like when Travis started doing his thing, the dancing and like being Travis, there's people out on that. But Sauce has generated a visceral reaction one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has the chance to be this next iconic Bearcat that the sport talks about relentlessly.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, if you're put off by Sauce, the brand, I would tell you, and you could speak to this more than I could, this is who he is. I mean, this is not some contrived, I'm going to figure out a way to brand myself in, this. Him. This is authentic. This is who he is. So,
same as Travis, same as Jason.
Right. Now, with those guys are both going to be in Canton one day, right? So
yes. But they weren't at the point that they entered the NFL, and they were still who they were.
No question. That only goes so far without you being as good as those guys are. But I mean, it's the perfect combination of market and like, I'm no Jets fan by any stretch of the imagination, but if that team, I mean, you talk about a fan base, it's not unlike Cincinnati, I guess, where they're always sort of the second little brother in town.
Yeah, they're starved.
They're starved. That they play in a stadium named after the other team. If they're moderately good, obnoxious Jets fan is going to shove Sauce down the throats of everybody in the country, and I'm here for it, man. I mean, they will prop him up, but it's the perfect combination of like guy, character, market, fan base, and I think he's going to be a great player. I mean, I think he's going to be a terrific pro. And to what extent he'll be willing to be a public ambassador for the University of Cincinnati, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's not going to distance himself from it.
He cried at the Luke Fickell video. He cried.
Right. So,
it means a lot to him.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, I certainly think he has that potential, but I think that potential is wrapped around the fact that he's got a chance to be a really, 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 really good pro. And so a star. And so it's going to be, I haven't seen the pushback. I have spent little time on Twitter this weekend. So I would say, I mean, you would love him if he played for your team. And fortunately, as a college football fan, he did. So I do love him. But no, I think it's the perfect combination of guy, player, market, fan base, potential that it could be for UC and the Jets. It can be awesome.
Did you get a weird, like, it's authentic, but it's like he's not an overly, like, crazy, over the top, braggadocious, like,
no.
Like when you talk to him, he's a sweet, humble kid that just had big dreams and believed in himself and said, I'm going to do this shit.
Yeah.
It's a weird vibe.
The first time
to people, I guess.
First time I talked to him was after the UCF game, 2019, when he, the pick six. And I go in there the following week, talked to him for the pregame show. And I mean, it wasn't a bad interview, but I had to like sort of pull some stuff out of him.
Right.
And it got better and better as things went on. But yeah, I mean, I said this to you, and I think you and I talked about this on the air. What I loved most about watching him these last two seasons were he knows the ball's not coming his way, right? Yeah. You could watch a guy's body language and, all right, they're not throwing my way, right?
Never took a
playoff. And I would remark about that to Dan and Jim in the booth, like, watch Sauce. I mean, just, watch him out of the huddle or whatever.
They were putting tight ends out there that blocking tight ends that weren't going to run a route. And he was still engaging.
He knows the ball is not coming his way, but you wouldn't know that by looking at his body language. And And I said this to Kobe Bryant, and I said this to a lot of the guys on defense. When somebody else would make a play, Sauce was always right there celebrating the guy making a play. And I think you can learn a lot by watching stuff like that. And I commented on that stuff often this year. I think that speaks to the kind of teammate that he is. And look, he's a competitive as hell dude. He's going to go to New York and work his ass off, and they're going to throw his way, right? I mean, NFL teams aren't going to do what the teams in the American Athletic Conference did.
Unless the guy's not open, and then you're not going to throw his way.
Right. So,
and then you get Revis again in New York.
Right. Yeah. So no, it's going to be cool. I mean, for him to sort of be like the central character of the draft was awesome. And
it was great.
For nothing but organic and pure reasons, and I'm a big fan of that.
Absolutely, I could sit here and do this all night, but I'm more than thrilled and thankful that you took a couple minutes to join us.
I've added nothing to the proceedings, but no, it's
you have been phenomenal. I might even pay you like you wrote an article. I'm
gonna write 2 this week.
Ooh,
yeah.
I'm
gonna write 2 this week. Would you like a little preview?
Sure.
I'm going to make the case for Evan Prater to be the starting quarterback.
Okay.
And
I think there's a case for that.
And I'm going to offer a piece of advice for somebody who has been in the news recently.
Okay. 2 for 2. I will publish them as soon as you send them to me. That's our
just edit them first, please, because you know. So that's
you're a better writer than you think.
That's not saying much.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. This is
Anytime.
Really good stuff. And what a week! What a week!
It's been fun. It's good time to be a fan. Thanks, man.
You got a lot of content for your show tomorrow.
And we don't have to talk about the Reds. So
right. Well, you got a Tony and Mo football. Is Tony and Mo tomorrow again, or just regular show?
No, it's just regular. But we have my guy Taron Bland has been he's working a lot of angles, so we should have some pretty good guests this week.
Love it. 3 to 6, Cincinnati's ESPN 1530. I think I'm in Friday. You're off Friday, right?
Yes, I'm off Friday. Celebrating Oaks Day. So.
There you go. See you later. He's Mo Egger. I'm Chad Brendel. It is the Nightcap right here on BearcatJournal.com.